Okay.
Друзі, я вас вітаю. У нас друга частина з найкрутішим харпером Бренданом Пауером. Нагадую, що гармоніка дарує щастя. Дивіться це відео, дивіться це інтерв'ю, грайте, і гармоніка подарує вам щастя. Hi, Brendan.
Hi, Brendan.
Так, ми продовжуємо. Так, запитання від дуже класного гармоніста і дуже крутого кастомайзера. І сьогодні Андрій буде його згадувати, від нашого друга Олега Коропецького. Питання таке. Частково ви про це говорили, але ми продовжимо. Як ви обрали Suzuki для втілення таких інноваційних ідей в інструментах, як Suzuki Overdrive та Suzuki Sub 3030? Шкода, що він не здобув популярності. Чи граєте ви зараз з налаштуванням PowerBender, Брендан говорив це, і, можливо, є якісь нові ідеї зараз саме?
Okay, let me translate. So here's some questions. First question from our great harmonica player and customizer. So we have only one customizer in our country, and all the people send harmonicas to him. It's Oleg Koropetsky. So yeah, and I'm trying to learn customizing from him something, so it would be cool if I could be the second one. So question from Oleg is, how did you choose Suzuki to implement such innovative ideas in the Suzuki Overdrive and Suzuki Sub 30 instruments? It's a pity that it didn't gain popularity. Do you currently play with the PowerBender setting? And what new ideas do you have now?
Okay, quite a lot of questions there. So first of all, I should make clear that the Overdrive is not my idea. The Overdrive was invented by a young Japanese inventor called Masaru Hashimoto. So it was all his idea, the Overdrive. What happened was in New Zealand, starting to play in New Zealand, which is on the other side of the planet, pre-internet, there was no communication like we have these days, no global communication. And so basically I just did my own thing. So I first, heard Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, went out and bought a harmonica and tried to teach myself to play blues. It took quite a long time. To start with, I was using the rolled tongue method for about a year. I didn't realize that the blues players don't use that. Eventually, I realized. So anyway, I started playing. And anyway, because I was always used to pulling things apart, bicycles or things in the past, when I started to play the harmonica, I naturally started to open it up, see what was going on. And so I discovered that, first of all, you could change the tuning of the reeds just by filing the end of the reed. So that was really my first customization thing. And then I started creating my first alternative tuning, maybe about 1980, called regular breath tuning. All the draw notes were always above the blows. And I recorded kind of a cassette album in about 1984 called Country Harmonica using that tuning. So I think that was the first tuning where all the draw notes were above the blows. Anyway, around 1980 at the same time, I started to play the chromatic harmonica and then realized that with the valves, if you pull off some of the valves, you get this half valving. So that was the second innovation. I started to half valve all my diatonics and also half valve all my chromatics and change tunings as appropriate so I could get all the draw bends. So I mentioned this in the last talk. So basically, as time went on, my next big idea was adding an extra reed to the chamber. And I also mentioned this in the last chat we had. The first guy to think of this was Will Scarlett. He, in America, I explained all about that. I thought of it independently 2 or 3 years later on my own. If I add an extra reed, So I experimented, made a 30 reed harmonica, and there's some photographs of that original harmonica from about 1989 on my website. 30 reed harmonica. So every chamber, it's a 10-hole harmonica. Each chamber has 3 reeds, and the draw reed can bend and the blow reed can bend. So anyway, I sent this idea to Suzuki because I already had a relationship with them about the half valving. They paid me a royalty for about 5 years for the half valving idea when they put out the Suzuki ProMaster harmonica. This one here, you can Suzuki ProMaster. That was basically, they paid me a royalty for that idea, half valving. So I sent them this 3 reed idea as well. In about I think I showed them actually on a trip to Japan in about 1992 on my way to England. I showed them the idea. They kept the prototype behind and thought it was a good idea. So then they experimented. They made a 30 reed diatonic, the same size as a regular diatonic. And they sent me a sample when I was in England, and it played great. And I got all excited. I thought, wow, this is cool. The first, a 30 reed harmonica that can bend all the notes, But then we discovered that Rick Eping had taken out a patent in about 1992 for the multiple reed idea. Well, he didn't patent the actual idea, but he patented a lot of things around it. So Rick Eping's patent made Suzuki stop work on this extra reed idea. I was very disappointed, of course, because I thought it was my idea. And then we discovered that actually Rick Eping, and then before him, Rick Eping didn't think of it. He learned of it from Will Scarlett. And then I think I explained they had a battle in the patent courts. But anyway, Suzuki didn't want to get into any legal battles with anyone, so they dropped that idea. But then when Rick's patent ran out, I'm getting onto the sub 30 now. So when Rick's patent ran out in I think 2012, Suzuki got in touch with me again. Well, by that stage I was kind of working for Suzuki as a consultant, and they said, "Look, Brendan, the way is clear to try and make this idea of yours again, the 30 reed idea, because the XB40 had already come out with 4 reeds, but no 30 reed harmonica." So we worked on it and together, and then eventually the Suzuki Sub 30 came out. So this was basically, this is actually a Sub 30 here.
Щось підвисло, да, трохи?
Yes, connection.
Чекаємо. Ну, таке буває, друзі. Прямий ефір у нас через велику відстань.
Да, через майже весь континент. Ой, не континент, а материк.
Да. Слухай, ну що треба сказати, як завзято Брендон розповідає, да? Як з якоюсь, да. Та.
I lost you for a bit. Okay.
Yes,
we're back on track. Okay, so anyway, basically Suzuki, we did some work and they sent me some prototypes which worked really well. When they made the final production model, unfortunately something happened with the top reed plate, because the top reed plate has got extra reeds. So it requires very careful stamping, because to try and put 20 reeds on the size of a normal 10 reed blow plate, you have to have, and unfortunately the quality of that top reed plate wasn't very good, unfortunately, in the production model. In the prototypes, it was great because I think they used spark erosion to make this special reed plate. Spark erosion is a non-destructive, very delicate procedure, can make very accurate reed slots. When they went to this big stamping method, unfortunately, the top reed plate wasn't very good. It was airy, it was leaky. And so unfortunately, the production model of the Sub 30 didn't play very well. You had to do a lot of slot embossing to make that top reed plate work well. I mean, this one here, I've done that kind of work and it plays nicely. This is in PowerBender tuning. So, you know, just all the blow and draw reeds. So every reed bends, you know. So this one plays nicely because I've done quite a lot of embossing on it. But the production model is a bit disappointing, unfortunately, because it's a great idea. What happened, even though it's a great idea, if it had come maybe 20 years before, a lot more people would be excited about it. When it came out, by that stage, 20 years had gone by, 25 years, and the overblow style of playing had gained a lot of traction. You know, a lot of people were into overblowing. So I remember when I was working for Suzuki, we went to the Spa Festival in 2013, 2014, when the Sub 30 came out, and I gave it to people to play on the stand. I said, check this out, you can bend every reed. And all these players came by, and they started to try and it made them confused because they were expecting an overblow. You know, when they went to sixth blow or whatever, the note bent down. And they were expecting an overblow because they were so used to overblowing. So unfortunately, a combination of factors, maybe the poor quality of the production model, the fact that overblowing was already entrenched in people's minds, and it meant that it wasn't a success in the market, unfortunately. I think you can still buy them, but it never gained success. It's a great idea, but it needs to be made a lot better, and people need to be educated. No, you can bend every reed now. So maybe some young players coming in who are not already entrenched in overblowing, they could really do a lot with this. But the older players, the guys who've been following Howard Levy and Jason Ritchie and everyone, they're already too far down the road with overblowing to want to change, which I understand, because once you develop a lot of licks and everything in one style and one tuning, it's very hard to change. So anyway, that's the story of the Sub 30. Personally, I still like the idea, and I still use my, this is a 13-hole Sub 30, I use it. So I added an extra low octave. This is an A harp, so normally A would go. This one goes. Ooh. There's a reed not working there. Anyway, that's now the bottom note. So it's gone down an octave. Sorry about that. I should have checked that. Oh, Igor. Is it Igor? Oleg.
Yes, Oleg.
Oleg.
Yeah, he will be. He won't be impressed with that. But anyway, so that's the story of the Sub 30. But the extra reed principle, I call it X reed principle, I think is fantastic. So I still love it. I use it in my. I think I played you something with the. The Asia bend is the same principle. Where you have extra reeds and it can give you a lot more bends. You can get big bends on every note. It could be blow draw like the XB40, or in the Asia bend case, it's all draw. So I love this sound of the extra reeds, and personally, I'm still using it. But yeah, it hasn't had a lot of traction. Anyway, that's a long answer to a short question.
It's cool. It's cool. Very cool. It's nice when long. Брендан, питання кастомізатору від кастомізатора. Ви талановитий кастомізатор. Можливо, є якісь особливі інструменти, які ви використовуєте при кастомізації? Якісь дивні, якісь незвичні. Може, є якісь хитрощі, якими ви можете поділитися з нами? І питання від Олега мається на увазі, мабуть, чи грали ви або граєте на кастомізованих інструментах від когось, да? Тобто не ви зробили, да? А хтось кастомізував, а ви грали на них.
Yes, so question from a customizer to customizer. You're a very talented customizer. What tools, special tools, do you use in your work? So personally, like you're special, so we cannot see from anybody else, or regular instruments, maybe you can tell, that are very helpful. And are there any special tricks or tweaks that you can share with us in terms of customizing? And another part of the question, do you play customized instruments yourself? So customized by other customizers.
The last question, I have played one or two harps by other customizers over the years. Richard Slay made me a really nice diatonic many years ago. I've got one that's being customized by Joel Anderson from Sweden, but because I know how to do and I can do it myself. I don't buy these. Were given as kind of gifts. Very nice of the guys. So I don't really. I don't buy custom harps from anyone else. I just do it myself because obviously it saves money, and also I can do it as I want. For advice on customizing, one thing I would really recommend is to get a microscope with light coming up underneath. I think the ones to buy are ones they use for examining valuable coins, like Roman coins or ancient coins. That kind of power is what you need for customizing harmonicas. You will be amazed at what you see when you magnify the reed plate. When you start embossing, you can almost see the metal moving like butter, as you move the embossing tool over the brass. Everything is exaggerated. You can see all the tiny little problems, and it's so much easier to emboss when you use a microscope. So I always do that. That would be my first. That would be probably an essential tool, I think, for embossing reed slots and stuff like that. Get a microscope with an underlight. The kind of tools I use for embossing, I learned from Rika Ейпінга, who was actually the first man to emboss a reed. A lot of people think it's Joe Falisco, but it's not. It's Rika Ейпінга. He was the first. I did on my website. There's a story. I call it the father of embossing. And he was a really clever guy. Basically he came up with this procedure. He worked in an accordion workshop in New York, I think, before he worked for Hohner. So he had a lot of understanding of reeds and everything like that. Anyway, but also a great harmonica player himself. And one day he made a reed with 3 tips, a tri-cornered reed. So it's had a single shaft and then three ends, it widened out to 3 fingers. And because he made this reed by hand, slowly filing everything out, and he made the slot by hand, the fit wasn't very good. So anyway, then he came up with the idea, maybe I can make it work better if he called it burnishing. He didn't use the word embossing, by the way. That's someone else called it embossing. He thinks it's the wrong word. We shouldn't be using embossing. It should be burnishing is the correct term. But anyway, he was the first one to do it. So he basically, for this 3-cornered reed, he burnished the slots around the reed, and then the reed played a lot better. So he could test out his theory, is this 3-tip reed better than a 1-tip reed? And so anyway, that was the start of what we call embossing. Rick, we should really use Rick's word for it, burnishing, but everyone calls it embossing now, so I guess we'll just go with that. So he developed his own tools for it. So I use it. He showed me the tool that he uses, which is what I use for myself. It's kind of like a needle. If you imagine a needle, I make it out of a drill bit, a hard drill bit, and basically just flatten one one edge, so it becomes like a needle with an angled edge on the end, and then I polish it so the edges are nice and round. That's the kind of tool I use for embossing. Other people use different shaped tools. Many things can work, but I use the one that Rick showed me. So that's a microscope, my embossing tool. Another thing I use for tuning is a little battery engraver. I don't have one here, or I don't have these tools with me right at hand, but I use a little battery engraver. You can buy them for 10 euros or something, the Chinese thing. And they have a couple of batteries in the shaft, and they're great for fine tuning. Quick small changes, a few cents. If you want to change tuning a lot, I use a Dremel with a buffing wheel on the end, and this way you can raise the pitch of a reed or lower it by like 3 semitones in a few seconds. It's very quick. Obviously, you have to develop the hand-eye skill so you don't go too far, because you can go right through the reed and chop the end off or buff up the end off. But basically, that's something I use a lot. Is this Dremel? A Dremel? It's kind of like a electric hand electric thing with a very fast tip. Though you can have a variable speed on the end, and it can have drill bits or cutting wheels or whatever. So I use Dremels a lot. I have about 5 of them on my workbench, each with a different tool tip. So I don't have to keep changing tools. I have, one Dremel for polishing, one for cutting, another one for engraving, whatever. So those 3 tools, plus the microscope, would be probably, and then of course shims, like to go into the reed. I use a feeler gauge. I take them from a feeler gauge, with a feeler gauge where you have a lot of different thickness steel fingers, and I just choose the correct one, and they are in different thicknesses, 0.1 millimeter, 0.2 millimeter, blah blah blah. So I use them for my little reed support. I make my own little reed probes out of pieces of brass, maybe out of an old reed plate. I chop out a bit of reed plate, make it for that. Other tools, I'm away from my workshop at the moment, so I'm just trying to think what I have there. One thing I bought recently is I've forgotten the name now. It's a bench thing for cutting. What's it called now? Jewelers use it for cutting sheet metal accurately without bending the edge. It's like a guillotine shear. Guillotine shear is what it's called, a guillotine shear. So this is for if you want to cut the end of a reed plate off with a really nice clean cut without it bending over or having to use snips or a hacksaw. A guillotine shear is pretty cool. I don't use it a lot, but it's nice to have. I have, kind of electric sander.
Guillotine for cigars.
Yeah, this is quite big. It has a handle up here, and you kind of go.
Yes. I'm joke.
Yeah. Okay, and I have a electric sanding machine. I have a manual milling machine where you just move things in the workbench, and then you can mill slots. This is a manual one, not CNC. As far as CNC goes to cut, I have laser cutters for cutting valves and gaskets and things like that, and 3D printers. But these are kind of like, they're not the normal things that a customizer would use. But if you can do CAD design, they're great tools machines to have. Scissors, all these kind of little things. But I guess the microscope, the embossing tool, the many files, the battery engraver, and the Dremel buffing wheel, Dremel cutting wheel, those kind of things I use a lot.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go. Так, гарне запитання. Потрібна порада, це питання від Олега, продовжую. Порада, як контролювати ритм, коли граєш самостійно? Мається на увазі без фонограми, чи акомпанемента, чи метроному. Як навчитися його тримати? І, можливо, друга частина питання від мене. Одна найголовніша порада для початківця, будь-якого, коли починаєш, щоб ви порадили саме початківцю, на що зосередитися в першу чергу, тобто найголовніше. Дякую, Андрій.
Yes, so question from Oleg about the playing aspect. What advice would you give regarding rhythm control when playing by yourself without backing track or accompaniment? And the second part question is from Kostya. So it's about what's the most important advice would you give to beginners in terms of playing?
Okay, so we'll start with the rhythm. So basically, I guess we all have, rhythm is such a huge part, and playing in time and with groove is such a big part of making music sound good. So I agree with that. I mean, on a diatonic harmonica, you can do chord rhythm just to give yourself a groove. So basically, you can use your breath to give you a rhythm and syncopation. So instead of going you can I mean, a nice thing to do is to it's kind of a hard question to answer without being specific, but maybe just playing single note melodies. So you can basically have this internal rhythm inside your body as you're playing. I mean, for instance, with Irish music, you have to where's an Irish one? Yeah, with Irish tunes are a lot of it's something that I'm familiar with, which is unaccompanied playing, and so you have to basically have the rhythm internal. It's very important to get a good groove. This one has got this kind of groove. So, you have to kind of basically feel that swing in your body, and just imagine that you're playing along to a drum or something like that. So, I guess if you're having trouble with rhythm, maybe just play along to a metronome, or play along to a drum track or something like that, and then just slowly build up to the point where you don't need to have a drummer or anything, and you can still play with good groove. I've forgotten what the second question was now from Kostya.
Oh,
First advice for beginners.
Oh yeah, good.
Most important.
Okay, well, I think basically all of us three guys probably know what is the most important is getting clean notes, because when a beginner picks up a harmonica, it's sort of you get this sound. So just isolating clean notes is so important. So if I was, I've done a bit of teaching in the past, so I'd used to use a few tricks. I get some tape and put it on each side of the single hole, some, sellotape or masking tape, so that then even the beginner can't help but get a clean note. So they can hear, the sound of a clean note in their head. Because, of course, when you pick the harmonica up, you can't see what you're doing. So if you just tape off all the reeds except for one hole, then you can hear that single note sound. And then maybe after a while, once they understand that, maybe take the tape off one side, but leave it on the other side, and then see if they can still get that clean note. And then if that's good, then they can take the tape off the other side and once they get the simple, the ability to get a single note, I think note transitions are pretty important. Like blow, draw, but also maybe blow, blow next to. So basically, I think there's maybe about 4 different transitions you can get. You can go blow, 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 draw, or you can go draw, blow, and you can go there's one more maybe yeah, and draw, blow from that. So you can go so that's 4 different ways you can transition between 2 notes. So that's a good exercise for getting your transitions really clean. And you know, so clean notes is very important. Bending notes, as we know, is very important. So that's again a difficult thing. A lot of beginners, like the 2 draws, often they're quite flat, isn't it? When they you know, they bend it without meaning to. It's often flat. So hitting that 2 draw, if you're playing diatonic, the same as 3 blow, and then being able to bend it all the way down. You know, and every hole is different. Like a bend higher up, you know, it's a very small mouth down the bottom. Oh, big mouth, like that. So, you know, mastering bending, getting bending in tune, these are very important. So many different things, but it all starts with getting clean notes to start with. So yeah, that's probably the most critical.
I agree.
skill.
Maybe it's important. Cool. Друзі, просте запитання і одночасно складне.
Costa, let me say something. So I really, Brandon, appreciate the idea that you said. So I think you said that harmonica is like a rhythm instrument, so like a drum. So maybe thinking it's about like a drum. And when you played, I was counting the rhythm, and I think Irish tunes are in 3/4 or 6/8 rhythm. So 1 2 3 1 2 3 or 1 2 3 4 5 6. So something like that.
The main ones are 4, like 4/4 and 6/8 are the 2 main ones. This is a real, which is in 4/4. And a jig would be that's a jig. 6/8 or 4/4, the 2 main ones, but they do have 3/4 and other rhythms. Of course, when you get into Bulgarian music, which I love, you know, or Balkan music in general, you know, they have so many different rhythms. They're the masters of rhythm, those Balkan musicians. But yeah, in Western music, it's mostly 4/4, 2/4, 3/4, 6/8, fairly boring. Indian musicians are also brilliant at many different rhythms.
You have video East music with low band. Very nice.
Yes, about Eastern music.
Yes. Просте та складне запитання одночасно, тому що складно когось виділити. Але перед тим, друзі, я вас прошу, не будьте байдужими, будь ласочка. Якщо вам подобається, то ставте вподобайку. Якщо не подобається, ставте лайк. І пишіть щось, задавайте питання. Наприклад, от питання про ритм, воно таке дискусійне, як на мене. Тобто ви можете щось задавати, щось питати, щось спілкуватися. Питання просте. Хто зараз, не так, хто найкращий харпер, хто найкращий гармоніст взагалі, окрім Соні Террі, та зараз, сучасний?
Okay. So question actually from Costa and Oleg as well. So who is the best harmonica player you consider the best? So like Sonny Terry or else? And who do you listen to? Harmonica players, past and present. Who do you admire, maybe?
Yeah. I think it's really hard to say anything about who's the best when it comes to something like music, because there's so many different It's not like the 100 meters, the 100 meters race at the Olympics. Clearly, the guy who gets there first, is the best because he's the fastest. Because they only have one criterion of excellence, which is speed. With the music, you have so many criteria. You have speed as one. You can get some players who are very, very fast. Another one is feeling, emotional depth. So some players who can't play very fast might have a lot more depth in their playing, a lot more emotion. So, to say one is better than the other, I think it's, to be honest, that's why I don't like harmonica competitions at all. I never went into one. I don't like even judging them, really, or music competitions in general. Of course, you can hear a great player. We can all hear a great player. We just hear it. Oh, wow, they're great. But then there might be someone else who's really good in their own way, totally different. And you can't really say one is better than the other, in my opinion. And a lot of it will come down to personal choice. Some people will love this person. Some people will love Sonny Terry. So others would love Rice Miller, Sonny Boy Williamson. Others would love Little Walter. To me, they're all great. I love them all. So, yeah, I mean, Rice Miller, Sonny Terry was my first inspiration. I think he is amazing. I love him. Then Sonny Boy Williamson II, Rice Miller was my second big guru. Then I heard Little Walter. I was blown away by him. And then I heard Charlie McCoy, totally different. I was blown away by him, with the speed and the... So anyway, he got me off going on a different direction. And Stevie Wonder, I really love his playing.
What's about Chromatica? Stevie Wonder, yes? Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder. Toots Thielemans is fantastic, incredible. Franz Schmel, have you heard of him? The Austrian classical player.
Yes.
So there's so many great players these days. These days, who's around? Well, Jason Ritchie, I really love his playing, like everyone does. I think he's got a great swing, great inventiveness. I love his rhythmic inventiveness. Yeah, I mean, there's so many good players. It's hard to name them all. To be honest, I don't really listen to harmonica players a lot myself. I mean, I hear them and I think, wow, that's cool, but I don't listen and learn because in my case, I'm playing different tunings. All my harmonicas are in different tunings, so I couldn't really learn anything specific from any chromatic harmonica player who plays a standard solo tune chromatic, because I don't play those ones, or a standard Richter tune diatonic, because I don't play them either. So I couldn't really exactly follow what they're doing. I might pick up a little idea and transfer it to my harmonicas, but because I'm playing all my own tunings, then it sort of limits the amount of learning that I can do from great players who are playing standard tunings. I listen to more maybe other instruments like the saxophone or the fiddle, things like that. They or the flute. They inspire me probably more than harmonica because they can do some cool things that often are difficult on harmonicas. For instance, this is actually, I showed you this before. This is two diatonic harps in a combination. It's an instrument that I developed. I call it the switch harp, and basically this is a prototype of a new version of it, and it's tuned in fifths. It's tuned, one is in G and one is in D. And one thing that's really difficult on harmonica is big jumps, like in something like that kind of thing, and that comes up a lot in fiddle music. But now with this tuning here, I can get those really easily just by pushing the slider. Let's what's up? So that kind of thing I can just use with my thumb. So this is the way I look at it. It's often if there's a technical problem, rather than trying to force myself to do difficult things like tongue switching, whatever, I just change the harmonica. I find a way to somehow modify the harmonica to make it easier. So I don't know if I'm answering the question very well, but I listen to other players, but I often more listen to, my point is that kind of thing is really easy on the fiddle. Violinists can do that really easily. And there's a lot of Irish tunes and other fiddle tunes which have these big jumps. But I could never play them well on harmonica. So now I'm making the special harmonica that makes it easier to play those kind of tunes with big jumps, like the one I just played you there. And I'm having a lot of fun exploring those kind of tunes right now at the moment.
Thank you.
One more point on that actually is MIDI harmonica, the DM48 X. That gives you the ability to play all these big jumps and play lots of other things that you can't do on a regular harmonica, like the special decorations, that you can get on the fiddle and the flute. On the MIDI harmonica, you can get them. So I'm really enjoying exploring those dimensions of playing, which are impossible on any normal harmonica, even a altered tuner ones. One way around that is the slide diatonic, like the ones I use for Irish music. They often the slider goes up to the next note of the scale. So instead of going up a semitone, here's one that goes up a semitone like a normal one. But this one here, the slide diatonic, goes. And this gives you pretty cool it gives you in tune slider decorations. So that's a kind of a way to try and make it sound more Irish, I guess. So yeah, I often I guess the short answer is I listen to players, but I can't really copy what they're doing because I change all my instruments to something else anyway. So.
Окей, Андрій, з того дозволу коротеньке запитання від мене і далі Брендан вести. Добре?
Yes.
Таке складне запитання для мене, але не знаю, що робити, треба задати його. Я граю на гітарі, і для мене це не проблема, але коли став грати на гармоніці, це самий крутий, самий класний інструмент у світі. Але він дуже популярний, а інший бок, він нішевий. Тобто, подивіться, скільки підписників самих крутезних харперів. Їх дуже мало, він нішевий. А останній раз, наскільки ми спілкуємося з українцями, отака хвиля зацікавленості інструментом була, коли Індіара Сфер зіграла свій improvisation in C minor. І зацікавленість була дуже велика. Що, на думку Брендана, що можна зробити, щоб більше людей у світі, звісно, в Україні, слухали і займалися саме гармонікою? Що можна придумати такого?
Okay. Yes. So, very deep and meaningful question from Kostya. So, Kostya, before harmonica, he was playing guitar and still is playing. And it's a very broad, well-known instrument. And when he started playing harmonica, it touched his heart. It's a very instrument that can express you can express yourself, but at the same time it's a very niche instrument. So it's very small community. And at one point when Indiara's Fair, if you know harmonica player from Brazil, she released her video blues or improvisation in C minor, the harmonica became more popular. So the question here is it rise up very popularity of harmonica. But so the point here is what we need to do to popularize this instrument at that point.
Okay. Well, I guess, I mean, when you say it's not popular, I mean, I think it is popular in the sense that it's huge. It sells in huge numbers. I mean, I think I heard that it's the biggest selling musical instrument in the world and has been for most of the century. Because if you think about it, it's small.
Yes.
Everyone gets one in their Christmas for Christmas when they're a kid or something, you know, because it's a little present. And so probably in terms of numbers sold annually, the harmonica is certainly up there. I'm sure there's a lot more harmonicas sold than guitars or virtually any other instrument. So there's a lot of them around. In terms of making a living as a professional player, I agree. It's a lot more difficult than other instruments. Part of the problem, I think, is the harmonica has a lot of musical limitations. You know, people are trying to overcome them, like the diatonic harmonica. Take it, for example. It's, you know, as it comes out of the box, it doesn't have any chromatic notes. You know, it's just a diatonic instrument. So straight away, it's limited. Of course, people are trying to overcome those limitations with advanced techniques like overblowing, overdrawing. And another way to go is to alter the harmonica. That's the kind of thing I do. But it's still, even then, there's still a lot of things you couldn't do on a, you know, even Howard Levy or whatever couldn't do on a diatonic harmonica that a sax player could do, or a fiddle player, or a flute player. I mean, they can do a lot more dexterity with decorations, big jumps, blah blah blah. So even the best harmonica player on a diatonic and a chromatic would have some limitations. So in my opinion, for the harmonica to get more, I suppose, accepted, I think we have to try and improve the instrument to overcome some of these limitations. For instance, with I think I mentioned it last time, with the chromatic harmonica, it's basically remained unchanged for 100 years. I mean, this one looks like a modern, you know, space age instrument, but it's no different to the harmonica, a chromatic harmonica that was first came out in 1910 or something, because it does the same things. It press the slider, the note goes up a semitone. That's all it can do. In my case, I retune it, but it can still only go up to one note. There's a lot of limitations. So, I mean, personally, one thing that I think would really advance the chromatic harmonica field is a double chromatic, which I've made a few of over the years, where you have two chromatic harmonicas behind two sliders. It's very difficult to make, and it's not, you know, no manufacturer makes one. But that would instantly add a lot of extra possibilities to the chromatic harmonica to make it much more on a similar level to a saxophone or a flute or whatever, these other instruments that can do a lot more things. The diatonic harmonica, probably, I mean, it has such a great sound. I mean, it has limitations, but, you know, it has a sound, you know. And it can play chords which a flute can't do, and a saxophone can't do. So there's some things which harmonicas can do that other instruments can't do. But I think the diatonic harmonica is always going to have some limitations. It's hard to overcome them. What you can do is make a chromatic harmonica that sounds like a diatonic, like this one. So this one can play a fully chromatic scale. You know, so this one you can still get a chromatic scale with a button. But also, so you can get every note with bending as well as the button. So that's one way to kind of, I think, make the chromatic, the standard chromatic, more expressive and do more things. So yeah, I think the instrument itself can be improved from the standard solo tune chromatic with valves or the Richter tuned harmonica with no valves. I mean, I think there's a lot of combinations of the two that we can make to improve the sound of both of them. And secondly, maybe add capabilities like, say, the double chromatic would expand the possibilities and capabilities of the chromatic harmonica. And then if you could do that, then you could play, for instance, classical musicians and jazz musicians on the chromatic could play more stuff. You know, they could probably play easier to play, you know, Charlie Parker speed and lines and Coltrane and all that stuff than on a standard chromatic. So then they would get more respect in the music scene in general. And because people would think, wow, the harmonica can do that. We didn't know it could do that. So, you know, that would raise the profile and status of the harmonica. I think if it can do more, if it's capable of more stuff, and the only way that can be done is by changing the instrument. But whether that'll happen, I don't know.
Thank you very much. Це дуже розумна відповідь. Мене якби це влаштовує, але у нашому хворому світі мені здається, що нам потрібен просто герой Марвел, який буде грати на гармоніці разом з Людиною-павуком та там Капітаном Америкою. Друзі, нещодавно Олег Коропецький випустив дуже класний відос про налаштування язичків, а зараз запитання від нашого молодого кастомайзера, який стане ще круче, ще крутіше і буде на цьому заробляти дуже багато грошей. Питання від Андрія Дмитренко. Будь ласочка, Андрій, я думаю, що субтитри там зробить, все твоє.
Okay, so question for me, but before I want to thank you for this invention. This is very cool. If you can see it, Brandon. Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The overblow boosters. So I installed it for Kostya, and it was a bit challenging yesterday, but it's working. So it's cool. It's pretty. Overblows became like insane, and thank you for that. So I can demonstrate for everyone.
Sure.
So, and you just press on the booster and it stopped the note, but overblow pops up.
Yeah. О, ти починив верхній, о, добре.
Yeah, and the most challenging thing is to install these upper ones for me but I managed to do it, so everything works. So thank you for that.
That's okay. I mean, that's a very, to my mind, that's probably the simplest invention that I ever came up with. There was a few bits of foam, and it's got a bit awkward to play, but it does give you enhanced overblows. You know, so yeah. I mean, I've made another overblow booster, which I think is better, but it's more complicated. It's got a slider over a plate with magnets.
Yeah.
Plate and a slider. So that's better, but it's also much more complicated, more expensive. This is a nice, cheap, quick way you can enhance your overblows in a diatonic harmonica. So yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yes, but for me, like I was watching Jason Ritchie's video and I was hearing this one overblow with this slide booster, and it was like worse than with just covering the first hole.
Jason Ritchie doesn't use that slider. He does everything in his mouth.
But recently the newer video, Ross Garen gifted him one with the thing, and he tried. So yeah. So it was very interesting to watch him play it, actually. Okay. So question from me, in terms of customization, Brandon, please can you give me some advice on how to check the tone of the reed after tuning? How do you do it? What embouchure do you use, or what kind of breathing? Or is it simply by checking the reed with exhaling on the reed plate without assembling the harmonica? Or maybe you use like special like Schulberg harp tuner, station.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's a good question actually, because the pitch does change from the bare reed plate to the harmonica. So yeah, I mean, basically, if I'm changing the tuning, I would do it kind of to a rough state, not a rough state, but a accurate state with a bare reed plate, and then put the reed plate in the harmonica, then check the tuning again, because as soon as you put the reed plate in, you have a different oral cavity interaction with the reed, and the tuning can change a little bit. So it's important to tune on the instrument itself. And everyone's got a different embouchure. Basically, I use a lipping embouchure. Tone blocking is different. So those little things can affect the tuning as well. So yeah, tune first on the bare reed plate, and then put it on the actual harmonica and tune directly on the harmonica you can use a little reed probe for the blow reeds, a little support for the draw reeds. I don't use a Shobo tuner, even though it's a very cool looking thing. I've never felt the need for it. But that's the kind of thing they do use at the harmonica factory, similar to that. So I'm sure it would work for some people, but personally, I don't use something like that.
Thank you. So, Kostya, another question?
Так, наступне ж питання твоє про слайдер бас. Ти задавай сам, да.
Okay. So
просто час, друже. Ти просто час.
I think I already asked this question, but in terms of like development of slider bass and putting it on tremolo harmonicas, or I've seen even Suzuki does like tremolo chromatic harmonica, but it's very expensive. So would it possible for some company to make it like cheaper or easily to make like tremolo chromatic harmonica, so people won't play on like two tremolos holding it together and changing from one to another?
The Suzuki one suffers from a problem. It's I don't know if I mentioned it last time. It's got a scientific name. It's called Helmholtz resonance coupling. And if anyone knows their acoustics, that every cavity has a resonant frequency. This is the Helmholtz resonance, named after, I think, a German scientist from the 19th century, Helmholtz. So there's a resonant frequency of the chamber. And this is the oral cavity of your mouth, combined with the channel in the harmonica, the mouthpiece, for instance, and then the reed chamber. So if we had, you can actually test it by, if you get a diatonic comb, and then you cover both sides with some wood or something like that, or if you put some tape over the reeds, then you can blow into the diatonic comb like a... This one won't work because it has reeds, but if it had the reeds blanked off, you could blow into it like a bottle, like this kind of thing. This is, you could blow into it, and that would give you the resonant frequency of the actual chamber of the harmonica, and it's got a certain note. And basically, that resonant frequency of the chamber plus your mouth can interact with the pitch of the reed to change the pitch of the reed. On very high notes, on some chromatics, where the reed is a long way from the mouth, the reed goes flat because of this problem, Helmholtz resonance coupling. And but it does happen, everywhere on the harp. So yeah, my advice is to definitely do the final tuning on the harmonica itself, because only then will you understand what the correct pitch is when you play the instrument.
Yes. Will we see a tremolo-like invention from you? So you mentioned about like bending on tremolo invention, something with that.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot the point of my... So basically the Suzuki tremolo suffers from this problem of Helmholtz resonance coupling, because half the reeds are a long, long way from your mouth, and they tend to play flat. So it's, especially in the upper octave of that instrument, it's really hard to get it in tune. I think a better model for the tremolo would be 2 reed plates. Well, you need 4 reed plates for a tremolo chromatic. You need 2 there and then 2 here, close to the mouth, and then it will sound much better. So that would be the way I would design a tremolo chromatic. Personally, I'm not interested too much in the tremolo sound, so I haven't been motivated to try and make one. But yeah, that's how I would make it if I was going to make one, with 4 reed plates close to the mouth, and then you shouldn't get this Helmholtz problem.
Андрію, будь ласка, якщо ласка Брендона, попроси, будь ласка, його зіграти щось або улюблене, або те, що на душі зараз, чи на хроматиці, чи на діатоніці. Тому що треба записувати, да, і щоб не зловживати часом, якщо можна, щось найулюбленіше.
Yeah, so Brandon, please, if you have something on your heart or something you love to play for us on the harmonica or on chromatic or diatonic, whatever you like. For the viewers. Yep.
Okay. Well, I do love the, I think, the Asia bend is something that I often pick up if I'm just, feeling in the mood for some soulful playing. So yeah, this is a weird one with only draw notes, no blow notes. But yeah, that's something that has got a very soulful sound. So maybe I'll just play a few notes on this. Maybe
Very good afternoon, everyone. Captain speaking on the bridge. And once again, sounding the ship whistle with Mark at sea Well, since our departure from Tromsø early this morning until noon today.
As you can hear, I'm actually on a ship at the moment. I'm on a ship off the coast of Norway. This is the captain talking. So,
never mind. We listen harmonica and Brandon. Так, ми з тобою
Brandon, have a good trip. Have a good trip.
Okay,
A safe
guys.
trip, and it was amazing grace. Yes.
Amazing grace for
Hey guys,
yeah.
talk and see you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brandon. God bless you, your family.
And you. Yeah, and all the best to all my friends in Ukraine, and good luck with everything.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
До побачення. Goodbye. Да, bye-bye. Друзі,